And so this is almost like a little hybrid, if you will. It's not a full, we're not going to forest bathe together today, but hopefully you'll get some of the benefits. So before we do anything else, I'm going to invite you just to close your eyes or have a soft gaze towards the floor just for a moment and find some length through your spine. And give yourself a nice big letting go breath. So all that is a nice big inhale through the nose. You can sigh it out through the mouth. And allow yourself to notice any physical sensations that may be showing up in your body. Maybe you're kind of slumping forward just a little bit, however you have your device set up. Just give yourself a moment just to tune in to how you're feeling right here and right now. And if your mind is going in a few different directions, that's fine. We all have those moments. Give it just another couple of breaths. Beautiful. So as we get started, I'm going to probably maybe need some help. I'm going to share my screen so you can see my presentation. We'll see if I did it right. Yes, I think we did. Excellent. All right. So just give yourself just a moment here to take in this beautiful scenery. Maybe give yourself another breath in through the nose and out through the mouth with your eyes open. Hang on just a minute. We're having a tech difficulty here. Did I need to? Oh, thank you so much. All right, so Shinrin Yoku or forest bathing. Let's get started. So just a brief history. So the term actually was originated in the early 1980s in Japan by the Japan Forest Agency. And the reason why this began was because there was a mass exodus of people out of rural communities and into major metropolitan areas like Tokyo because of the tech boom. So a lot of things started happening. And I'll tell you about those in just a moment, but I want to tell you the literal meaning of Shinrin Yoku means to forest bathe or to take in a forest atmosphere. And so I've actually included the lettering for you in this slide, and it's just absolutely beautiful. All right, so the Japanese Forest Agency, they began to encourage for people to start spending time outside. And there was a reason for it. So again, that tech boom coming into the major metropolitan areas in Tokyo and other major cities was causing an influx of depression and anxiety, physical illnesses, including autoimmune diseases that were starting to really become prevalent within those large urban areas. And so the other problem with this was that everybody had left the rural communities. And so the Japanese Forest Agency decided that they could create an economic stimulus program, if you will, for lack of a better term, to try to get people back into the rural communities and get them more connected to nature. And so not only would people benefit from being out in the forest in these rural communities, but then the rural communities could start to have better results in terms of bringing some more dollars back into these local communities. So it was very much driven by an ecotourism type of situation in the sense that everybody was going to be able to benefit from it. So then almost 20 years later, there was a professor at Tokyo University that came out and declared that forest therapy is a great way, or was a great way, to help people with disabilities, mental health issues, and different lifestyle diseases like diabetes. And so in addition, he was also the one, this professor was also the one that came and started to make this connection between, it wasn't just going to be humans that were going to be benefiting from spending this time in forests. The forests were also going to be benefiting by having these human beings be in relationship with them, because then we start to become a little bit more aware of our surroundings. So we're trying to create just a little bond there between humans and the more than human world. world. All right, so then about 20 years after they started this whole ecotourism campaign, the Japanese government began to start to really sink some money into this effort. And so some really great things have come out of that. And they've spent over $4 million since 2003 to train guides. So you don't just walk out into the woods and have a forest bathing experience. There are people that are trained specifically to walk you through these various experiences. There's currently 48 trails available just in Japan where these experiences are being offered. And so as part of one of the responsibilities of these guides, they're going to take your blood pressure beginning at the beginning of the experience and then again at the end. They're going to make notes and collect data. They're going to send you or give you a little survey where you can fill out, how do you feel today? You can circle the unhappy face or the happy face, and it's very small amount of data set that they're taking in, but it's created just all kinds of really great information that is available to us to prove that this is such a beautiful way to interact with a more than human world. All right, so what does it mean to forest bathe? Nobody is washing themselves in the forest, but it is a sensory experience. So it's about what you can see, what you can taste, touch, hear, and smell. So if you just look at the images on your screen, all of those are going to feel very different if you were to touch them. They would probably have a fragrance or some sort of smell about them. They would sound different if you were to tap on them. And they invoke different feelings within you based on the colors and what they are. So it's very much about bathing your senses with what you are taking in. And the other thing that I'll add here is this is very much about looking more into the details of what's available to you. So especially right now in the middle of COVID, we're looking at everything in these small little electronic screens. Some are like 2 by 3 inches, and we're just taking in these wide, vast ways of looking at things instead of really looking at the beauty that can be in the smallest of details. And so, yeah, it's just absolutely amazing work to be able to do this. All right, so I've given you just a few different things, and I invite you to focus your gaze on this tree with the moss and the fungi growing on it. These are just a few different ways that you could immerse using your senses. So you could see a tree swaying in the wind, and you can also feel that breeze on your skin. You can witness the sunlight just sending rays through a canopy of trees. Again, you can be aware of any of all of the shades of just one color in a single plant or flower. And then what would it be like to touch the bark of the tree? So even just for this one moment, if you were to look at what the evidence that you can gather about this image of this tree, you can learn that it's probably got some real softness to it. And there's a lot of life going on there. So there's plenty to observe. There's probably a musty smell, if you will, a little musky smell. So there's so many different things that you could tap into to really immerse your senses in just this one little part of a forest. And one of my favorites is actually to feel a cold pocket of air. So when you're out in the woods or maybe just even for a walk in your neighborhood, when you feel that little cold pocket of air and how it can make you feel a little bit more invigorated. All of these things are allowed and encouraged. You can hear a hawk announcing his intentions, or just listen to the rustle of leaves or moving water, a babbling brook. You can taste a blackberry or a hickory nut, or smell fresh pine, or the heavy scent of an animal that's just been nearby. Now, maybe that's something you have or have not experienced, but if you have, then you know it. All right, so this particular image is one of my favorites, and I want you to just take a moment to look and see and look more at the detail. So it'd be easy to say that this is a tree with red leaves. But then as you allow yourself another moment, notice the difference in the colors that are available to you when you look at the sky behind where it's blue, and then behind you where it's white because of a cloud. You can notice the bands on the trunk of the tree and the branches. Notice how many different shades of red and orange and yellow and brown are available to you. So really just taking in the minute details. allowing yourself just to appreciate that for just a moment. So in another couple of slides, I'm going to introduce Amos Clifford to you, but this is one of the best quotes that I think that I wanted to share with you today. And Clifford writes, "By giving attention to your senses, you turn down the volume of the cacophony of inner thoughts, and your awareness is brought into the present moment. And when we stay in the present moment, we can stay out of anxiety, because anxiety is what is in the future, or we can stay out of sadness or grief or despair or whatever it is from our pasts. If we're in the present moment, we're getting to celebrate that and appreciate it mindfully for what it is. So you are invited into wonder and awe and amazement, and it's available to you at any time. And it's much like this presentation, it's always free." All right, so what's the difference between Shinrin Yoku in Japan and forest bathing in the Western world? Well, of course, we've changed it. We've added our own spin to it. And so you'll see over in that left-hand corner, there's that name again from the quote that I just shared with you. So Amos Clifford in 2012 founded the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides and Programs. And during that time, he's trained over 1,000 guides that are here working in the United States, as well as 47 other countries and across 6 continents. And whereas the Japan Forest Agency wanted you to focus on ecotourism, Amos Clifford wants you to focus on eco-activism. So how is this relationship with nature allowing you to be more connected and care about the environment that's around you? And he also did something else pretty amazing. He added in 3 more senses. And so the first of those is proprioception. And so when you look at that image of that tree and you imagine that you're standing right in front of it, you're not only aware of the tree, but you're aware of yourself in space and time connected to it. And so it deepens your understanding and relationship with that tree. The second of the things that he added was body radar. So in yoga, we call it the body scan. So you're basically doing much like we did at the beginning of class of this workshop, where you just take that inhale and let it flow out of you and start to really come into connection with your physical body and how various sensations can show up for you. It's how we can release tension. It's how we can get more into the present moment. And then the third of these, which is the most fun, is imaginal communication. So that is the encouragement of childlike wonder, in the sense that we can interact with the tree. So you can start to develop a relationship with certain individual trees or plants or animals. Maybe there's a hummingbird that comes to a feeder that you have just outside of your door at home, and you can develop a relationship, and you don't even have to go deep into nature to create that bond. And that is where eco-activism begins, because you begin to care about the more than human world that is around you. So a second program was founded in 2018 by Micah Mortali, and he founded the Kripalu School of Mindful Outdoor Leadership. And as Brooke mentioned, this is the program that I did. No, it was a beautiful experience. And so it's at the Kripalu School of Yoga and Health. And since 2018, that program has graduated and certificated 225 mindful outdoor guides. There are currently 52 new mindful outdoor guides that have just started their journey, and they're doing it remotely right now. So if you want to learn more about that, I can make sure that we put the link to this program in the comments section. So where the Kripalu program is a little bit different from Shinrin Yoku, as well as the program that Clifford began, Mortali took it a lot farther. And so in addition to training in forest bathing, we were also trained on how to forage. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute, but we learned wilderness survival skills, wilderness medicine skills, and we also learned about how to do nature meditations, which has been a great crossover in my work as a yoga teacher as well. And then we've learned how to build shelters, which has been really neat to do. And then the best part, I think, is group facilitation and council practice. So in Shinrin Yoku, you may only go out with 1 or 2 people. And then as things have become more westernized and come into the United States and into the Western world, we've allowed these groups that are forest bathing to be in much larger groups. So we learned skills about how to facilitate that, and different disabilities and able bodies, and all types of different things that we can do to make this accessible to more and more people. And then the final thing is the council practice, which I hope to treat the ending of our program today in that way. And all that means is that we come together in circle. If we were together, I might offer you hemlock tea or lavender tea. We can't do that in the times of COVID. Or we could sit around a campfire and we could talk about our experiences, or we don't have to share anything at all. But nonetheless, we get to have that sense of community of the human world in the middle of the home of the more than human world. And so this program has really taken off. Mental health counselors, yoga teachers and therapists, doctors, all types of medical professionals, environmental activists, we've all come together, and it's just been amazing to stay in touch and to learn about how we are sharing our knowledge across the country and across the world. And then, so the big thing that Micah Mortali always taught us is that nature is the teacher and nature is the classroom. And we are the guides on the side and not the sage on the stage. So I'm sharing things, but I am definitely not the teacher. We might be stuck on a slide. Hang on for me, I'm sorry. Oh, here we go. I just needed to tap it a little bit harder. All right, so here is one of my favorite quotes. It's by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I'm going to share a resource of hers in just a little bit, but it's worth saying out loud. Knowing that you love the earth changes you and activates you to defend, protect, and celebrate her. But when you feel the earth loves you in return, that feeling transforms the relationship into a sacred bond. So it goes to what Clifford and Mortali have tried to do with these programs and the way that they are training individuals like myself to go out and encourage others to spend time in nature. It is a sacred bond that we are developing. And I will show you one of my special friends in just a little bit. All right, so let's talk about the human world. And it's changed even more now that we are in times of COVID. So we are an algorithm. We are tracked and traced and everything else. My daughter asked for pizza the other day and I said the word Domino's, and a second later my notification popped up that I could get Domino's pizza. So there is so much that is being tracked about who we are, and we're in so many different ways we're being influenced by this technological world that we're currently living in. So I want to tell you about something called nature deficit disorder. And it was actually a term that was founded by Richard Louv back in 2005 in a book he wrote called Last Child in the Woods. And I want to pay particular attention to what year that was. It was 2005. So that was 16 years ago. So think about what you were doing 16 years ago and how different technology was then, and the way that data and research was already starting to show that our children and ourselves were having problems with obesity, attention disorders, more depression, a lack of creativity, and we were too connected to electronic devices. And this was 16 years ago. So before COVID, the average American spent about 11 hours a day connected to a device. 11 hours a day. That is just mind-blowing to me. And then during COVID, the screen time for kids has risen by 50%. So we've doubled what we were already doing. And that is not good for your eyes or for anything about your physical and mental health. But in a lot of cases, we don't have a choice, especially when we were on the most strictest part of lockdown. And then pre-COVID, in a CNN poll from 2016, Americans were spending 11 hours a day connected to the screen, but it's skyrocketed. And I think I just said this, so I should fix this slide. But anyway, it's developed a place blindness. So we've developed this thing where we're not even paying attention to anything that's going on around us, and we're just living in autopilot, mindless, doing things, brushing our teeth, we're not aware of it, we're mindlessly scrolling through social media. So it's caused some additional challenges for us. So what is place blindness? Well, we live in a human-made world and we rely on instant gratification, immediate delivery, and we're staying inside 90% of the time. And there's this horrible statistic that most Americans are outside for a total of 15 minutes a day. And in that 15 minutes, it's the 15 minutes that it takes for you to leave your home, get in your car, drive to the store, walk in the store, get what you need, come out, drive back home, and walk back inside. And if that takes 15 minutes, then you've had a good day. But what we want to do is get you more connected. And that's where forest bathing and these mindful outdoor guides are such a gift. So we live in mostly urban environments and we are more disconnected than ever from the natural world. And yet there is hope. So vitamin N, take daily for best results. So these are just, we're going to start going through some of the benefits of spending time in nature. So spending time in nature can regulate your natural circadian rhythm. So if you've had trouble sleeping, especially when things feel very anxious and uncertain, then this can help you sleep better and allows you to feel more rested throughout your day. And we are operating from our conscious mind only 5% of the time. So again, there's that link to the autopilot syndrome where we're just kind of moving through life and we're not really connected mindfully to what we're doing. So when we do become more tuned in to getting out of that autopilot mode, we're more aware of our thoughts and our actions and our words and how we speak to not only ourselves, but to other people. And we are in relationship with the more than human world. We become more kind and compassionate to the more than human world, but also in turn to ourselves. And it can also allow us, spending time in nature can also allow us to have an increased sense of relaxation and greater mental clarity. So sometimes just getting away and having that reset and that reboot is all you need if you're under stress for a work deadline, whatever it is that you have going on. Just allow yourself some vitamin N. All right, so a little bit more about research. The Japanese researchers found in a study that they did that a 20-minute guided forest bathing experience in comparison to that with a 20 minutes spent outside in an urban setting actually altered the cerebral blood flow. And so basically what this did was allow you to get out of that thing where you're staying in your thoughts all the time. And things that allow that to happen are when you are multitasking and doing a lot of computer work and video gaming and exercising to the point of exhaustion. In other words, we keep ourselves busy because if we slow down, then we're going to have to face all the things that we don't necessarily want to face. So by moving yourself into a more natural environment, you can more deeply connect with your parasympathetic nervous system and actually change the way blood is flowing in your brain. It's just mind-boggling. All right. So for this next one, and I really doozied it up but on this slide, but just keep your eye on that sweet little tree over to the left. So being in nature boosts your immune system and it creates a relationship where you can counter natural killer cells that are in your body. This has been linked to cancer research as well. And so just a single day in a wooded area can increase the number of our natural killer cells in our blood by 40%. So who doesn't want a stronger immune system? Who doesn't want to fight off any cancers? Who doesn't want to feel as if they are invigorated and physically feeling really great within their bodies? And the immune system also it has something to do with disease, but also depression. So again, immersing yourself in this forest atmosphere can help you if you have been feeling a little blue. So the immune system is a sensory organ, and it's used to discern, communicate, and act. And when we can keep those clear lines of communication open because we are nurturing our mental health by spending time in nature, then we are giving ourselves so much more freedom to act and work from a place that is supportive and loving to ourselves and one another. So data also suggests that forest bathing decreases cardiovascular illnesses such as hypertension and coronary artery disease. So we're lowering your blood pressure. We're lowering those cortisol levels that can cause more stress and then can cause coronary artery disease as well as heart attacks and that hypertension. And a 4-week forest bathing program actually studied that it helped with depression. 61% saw a change in the level of depression that they had from doing this just once a week, 4-week forest walking based therapy program. And one thing that I really love about this is spending time in nature is that animals and trees and plants and flowers do not care anything about your physical appearance. You do not have to get all dolled up to spend time out in the woods. In fact, the dirtier your hands get and you get a little dirt under your fingernails, the better off you're going to be. So it changes the relationship that we actually have with ourselves. We're stop being dependent on how we look and more about how we feel. And that is really the place that we should be working from. All right, so this slide I threw in there because this research is really new. It's just come out since COVID. I just have gathered maybe 2 or 3 articles about it over the last 5 or 6 days. So we're talking hot off the presses. But there have been some studies that have linked that low vitamin D levels have actually been a reason why more people are contracting COVID. So vitamin D comes from the sun. So the rate of having a lower level of vitamin D is more prevalent in Black bodies, but that is also new, and this research again is new. And I linked some information that I've just found over the last few days in the resources tab, which I plan to share with you in just a few slides. So get your vitamin D. All right, so here's another really great passage out of a book called Your Brain on Nature, and it says, walking in natural environments provides an ever-changing surface. There's soft soil, hard soil, sand, embedded rocks, tree roots, decaying vegetation, fallen branches, and so on. And emerging research suggests that both the physical body and brain are enhanced and benefit by moving on uneven surfaces. So we were not born with rubber-soled shoes on our feet. And if you want to improve your balance and how you feel in your physical body, then allow yourself to take your shoes off and just walk on some natural surfaces and see how you feel afterwards. You might not feel great during, but it's definitely good for you. It's great for your joints. It's great for your stability and your balance. So I thought I'd share that one little extra health benefit for you. All right, so just to kind of recap these different ways that nature is medicine, there's research to back all of this up. It reduces your psychological stress loads. It lowers your heart rate, and it can increase your heart rate variability, which we want. We want you to be able to move through in such a way that if your heart rate increases just a little bit, then it doesn't instigate that whole fight or flight response. So this is excellent news. It lowers the cortisol levels, lowers pulse rate. It can decrease inflammation in your body. It boosts your immune system. It can definitely improve your mood. It increases your ability to focus. It can jumpstart your creativity. It can increase your energy levels, and it can make us more generous and compassionate towards ourselves and to others and to the more than human world. And just one extra tidbit, and there's again more information about this in the resources, but earthing or grounding, so back to having your bare feet on the earth. then that can actually thin your blood. I think I included information about a TED Talk where you can learn about how there have been people that have been on blood thinners and they have actually been able to wean themselves off of them from grounding. And then in reverse, people with diabetes, they don't want to spend a lot of time outside with their bare feet because they don't want their blood to thin. But I am not a medical professional. I'm just sharing information with you. You need to work with professional medical providers to see what is right for you. All right, do's and don'ts of forest bathing. So you want to make sure that you are familiar with your surroundings. And even if it's a place that you visit all the time, still give yourself the beginner's mind, the new eyes, so that you can make sure that you are aware of any and all hazards around you. So you want to make sure you're dressed appropriately, you've checked the weather, make sure that you know where you are, and if you need to have maps or markers, you have those available to you. Know that you are walking into the home of the more than human world. So you're walking into a chipmunk's home. You are walking into a place that these animals and beautiful beings live. And so be kind to them. Don't take what is not yours to take, and make sure that you move at a slow pace. So the beauty of a mindful outdoor experience or forest bathing is we are moving at a very slow pace. We are not worried about covering a lot of miles. We want to pay attention to everything that's going on around us and allow ourselves to become fully immersed in the sights and the sounds and the smells and the textures and how we feel supported in that environment. So if you are out, then I encourage you not to wear headphones. Allow yourself just to take the moment to just tap into the sounds of the birds and the trees swaying in the wind and whatever is going on around you. Allow yourself to stay tapped into that. But if you must wear headphones, wear just one so you can keep yourself safe and you have some familiarity with your surroundings at all times. And so don't mess with the ecosystem. I kind of said this, but if you're not foraging for medicinal purposes, like don't take things off of trees if you can help yourself. And there's a reason why and a purpose to everything that falls off of a tree or grows on a tree or any other kind of fungi. They're there for a reason and they have a purpose. So allow them to do that. As a side note, so the cairns where you see people will stack rocks out in the middle of the woods or next to water, you're actually messing with an ecological, a whole little microcosm that's going on there when you move those things around. And it's incredibly beautiful just the way that it is. So you don't have to create a human art form in the middle of this more than human world. And then see if you can keep yourself from taking photos to post to social media. So there's been research that proves that when you take your phone out and you're taking and snapping pictures and taking selfies to post on Instagram and Facebook, you're actually decreasing the benefits by 50%. So if you're going to say, I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling a little blue today, I'm going to go out into the woods and spend some time, but I'm going to take the phone and take pictures, then you're cutting your benefits in half. And so what I like to do when I go out, I go on a walk every day. And if I see something that I want to take a picture of, then I have to do the whole walk by myself and give myself that time to really reap in the benefits. And then if there's something I want to take a picture of, then I'll come back and do it after. So yeah, so here are just some ideas of things that you could do. And this is age and ability friendly. So you could focus on one small aspect of your wider surroundings, much like we did when we looked at the picture of the tree trunk that had the moss and the fungi growing on it. You could just focus on that one little area and sit with the tree and see how that feels. You could focus simply on textures or the colors that you see. So one leaf may have various shades of green in it. And just the awe that can come from seeing something and really being able to allow yourself the opportunity to see how naturally perfect it is just amazing. So scent. So one of the most beautiful things to smell for me, which I love, is pine needles. So if there's pine needles hanging off a tree, you can go put hands on either side and just rub your hands across the pine needles, leave them where they are, and then smell your hands, or flowers or anything. One fun thing that I like to do when I work with kids, and I've actually done it with adults, is you can set a timer for a minute and tell everybody to see how many trees that they can touch in that time period. And then when they all stop, then they smell their hands and you can smell all the various scents of the different trees that you touched. Another, which is one of my favorites, is to read the American Transcendentalists and read their literature, or any poet who celebrates the natural world. Mary Oliver is great as well. So tap into that imaginal communication and befriend a tree or a creek, and allow yourself to begin to form a relationship with a member of the more than human world. You can tune into the sounds around you. And so I'll show you what deer ears look like in case you want to try this. I will tell you that I've practiced it here at the gardens. And if there's any kind of like human noise around you, it doesn't work as well. So I want you out in the forest if you want to do this. But to do deer ears, all you do is take your hands and put them right behind your ears. And then you're going to open your jaw just a little bit. And what that does is open up the ability for your ears to act a little bit more like taking in like your internal speakers. And it will actually help you be able to focus on one sound a little bit more concretely. So it's great if you hear a bird and you want to hear it a little bit more closely. You can walk as if you were part of the more than human world. So how slowly and mindfully can you move like a fox, where you are moving from heel to toe really slowly, almost like you're trying to sneak up on something, and see how the more than human world will come alive to you if it feels like you're a part of the environment instead of a threat to it. And sit in one spot. We mentioned this earlier with befriending the tree, and then make it magical. How can you create and use your own creativity and your mind to create a story? So maybe there's a tree that has a scar on it, and you could create and craft a whole conversation with this tree, or create a whole story around what could have possibly happened to that tree to make it have a scar in that way. And I have in the resources a bunch of opportunities for you to read about all of these great relationships that people have had with trees. So we're to the good part. I get to share my version of a works cited page. So there's 3 pages of this. So all of these books were used to create some of the information that I've shared with you today. And if you'll look over to your far right, you'll see a book that's from Micah Mortali. He is the guy that created the program at Kripalu, and he has written his first book that I believe was published right at the end of 2019. So you can find any of these books around online, whatever works for you. I will tell you that Clifford book is just amazing. And then The Hidden Life of Trees, which it's taken me everything in my power to keep myself from talking about all the beautiful ways that trees interact with one another. But hopefully starting in April, I think Brooke mentioned I'll be bringing back the mindful walking and yoga classes. And so we'll have just little moments of forest bathing as part of our time together. That'll be on Tuesdays at 8:30 in the morning. And we'll talk about some of these things, and you'll get to experience it and start to befriend some member of the more than human world that lives here in the gardens. And then I would say my other big favorite on this page is Robin Wall Kimmerer's book. I shared one of her quotes with you earlier, Braiding Sweetgrass. It is the most beautiful stories. And she actually, if you like to listen to books versus read them, she actually reads it, and it's available via Audible. And it's like if you have 5 or 10 minutes just to listen to one of her stories, she is so soothing, and it's just beautiful to listen to. And then here's some more options. I did pull a little bit from that forest bathing retreat book here. I actually had one of my yoga students tell me about the overstory, and it's again kind of in the same vein as Kimmerer's book. There's just these different instances of how trees have been a part of stories. And again, magical to listen to on Audible if you like to listen to books. And so here's 4 of my favorite writers that you could just click on here and it'll take you to their pages. And down there on the left, that's Mr. Happy Pants. He lives in my neighborhood and I say hello to him every day. All right, so on your left, this is my special friend. This is Magnus, and Magnus and I have been talking to each other for about 2 years now. He's a protector of the forest in my little neighborhood. And I just wanted you to be able to have a moment to see my special friend. And he brings me a lot of joy to interact with him. And then on the right, this is a magical entryway that a woodpecker has made. And I just happened across this maybe about 2 or 3 months ago in my neighborhood. And he's about 40 or 50 feet from Magnus. So he's part of my daily check-in to create some little magical story about what's going on the inside of this tree. There could be fairies, all kinds of things. You could do all kinds of neat things with kids when you see something like this happen in your forest area. And then I'm not going to click on this, but this will be available for you. Anything that I find, this is a working document, so I've mentioned it several times throughout, but I will tell you that if you like to watch things, there's 2 or 3 TED Talks in here that are just so inspiring, and they're very short and sweet, and so much information can be gleaned about. There's one about this medical professional that changed the images that are available in her doctor's office to more natural surroundings. And there's all types of research that proves that you're not going to get as much as if you're out there having the real experience out in nature, but those are still available and they can still make little changes. So any little bit helps, right? And then finally, this is me. I am Ashley Clarke of Earthkeeper Yoga. And my mantra is to walk softly and carry a big light. And I hope that you have gleaned some of that from spending time with me today. And I am super grateful for you. So I'm going to get Brooke to come back and help me just a little bit. And let's see if we can share just a little bit as if we're holding space in this council time. So if you want to leave a comment or anything like that, we can start to look at that.
Yep, we've got the Q&A open and the chat is open as well. So if anyone has any questions, comments, go ahead and we'll take just a minute to let you drop those on in. We're keeping our eyes on it.
And as always, you don't have to share. So if it's not something where you feel comfortable doing that, you don't have to. But I will tell you that you can always, if there's a private comment that you'd like to share with me or a private question that you'd like to ask, my email is on this slide and you're welcome to reach out to me and I will do my best to answer you.
Let's see. Yes, Shannon has asked, will the slides be shared? Very exciting resources. That is entirely up to Ashley. If she would like to maybe convert them to PDF, we're happy to send them out to you all. And then, of course, a video recording of this whole presentation will be shared with you once it's edited and ready to go as well. So you'll have it in a few different formats there. Got a few things coming in on the chat too here. Let's see. Earlier on when we got started, Jason in our library, Jason Kirby's our archivist, also suggested that everyone may want to check out the library here at the gardens for books on forest bathing. We do have quite a bit, and a bibliography for what we have available on the subject in the library will be emailed to you with the video link when that's ready as well. Jason's also dropped another link into the chat where you can see it's just a link to everything that's available in the Jefferson County Library system on it. So you can find it in other libraries beyond just ours or have books, of course, shifted around. We've got Ashley's website is dropped in the chat, that Earthkeeper Yoga. Martha has asked about how to get to more resources. So is that Earthkeeper Yoga the best place for her to find more resources?
I would actually use the link that's in the resources that's in the slide presentation. So I guess what I need to do is convert this to a PDF. I'm not sure. How does that work for a link though?
Interactive PDF.
It's an interactive link. Okay, so I'm not the tech savvy person, but we will make it happen, and then you can start looking at all of those different resources and chasing the rabbits. But I'll tell you, the best way to get more resources is to get outside and spend some time outside and let yourself physically feel, mentally and emotionally feel the benefits of it. And then it won't matter about research. You'll be feeling it and using it for yourself.
That's great. Most of the questions were about how to get to more of those resources. So I think that
Mhm.
answered a lot of them. Jamie has said, thank you so much for offering this. A friend gave me the Nature Fix books a year or more ago, and I have loved it. I do not live in Birmingham, but I fell in love with it on our first visit, largely due to the trees and walking at the Birmingham, let's see, let's go, at the gardens every time I visit. What a treasure. Well, we're glad you visited us, Jamie. Let us know next time you're around. Keep an eye on our website, and maybe you can visit during one of the in-person programs with Ashley and do a little bit of forest bathing with her there. That looks like, let's see, would it be possible to share a link in the chat? Let's see, I think we can. Is
To
it
the working document?
to the working document? Do you have that where you can drop it into the chat to all attendees there?
Y'all are challenging my technological
If
gifts.
not, hold
But
tight.
let's see if I can help you here.
Yeah. Just hold tight with us for a minute. Anybody that wants that link, we are working on getting it into the chat for you. It might just take us a little second.
Yeah.
Yeah, control click.
Oh,
Now let's see where it goes. Yeah, go back there and then highlight it. Double click. Will it? It had a link.
let's see. Here, I'll let you do it.
I don't know if I'm going to do it any better. Here.
So I copied it. Let's see if,
And then control. Okay. Oh, I see what you did. Yeah. You're doing the same thing I was going to do.
mm-hmm.
And then control A, control C.
She knows where all the control things are. I have no control. I have no control.
Okay, now where it says
Where's
Zoom,
the chat?
we got to get back to Zoom. And more.
Chat.
Did you see chat?
It says chat
Yeah,
8.
there you go. And
There we
then
go. Yay.
there, and then control V,
Yep.
enter.
Yay. We did it. It took some teamwork.
Okay, good.
All right, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yep.
There we go. All right, let me just come back to the Q&A real quick and make sure that there isn't anything outstanding. All right, that's it. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much, Ashley, again,
Yeah.
for the lovely presentation. I hope we all feel a little bit more at ease this morning, and that everyone will follow it up with a walk outside on this beautiful day before the severe weather potentially hits us again tomorrow. So go walk in the forest while the forest is still intact today, and we'll
Yeah.
hope for the best for it after tomorrow. So
Where is the link to resources that you put in the chat? I don't see it.
it's right there.
Right above you.
Somebody asked.
Oh, someone says, where is the link to the resources that you put in the chat? I don't see it here. A Houston. That should be, oh gosh, I just noticed, guys, that link just went to internally. It didn't actually get shared with all attendees. So thank you, A Houston, for pointing that out to us. We'll make sure
Well,
it's
it's control all, so we should be able to just.
Remember how we
Oh,
had
yeah.
yeah.
All panelists and attendees.
There we go. So we could see it, but you all couldn't see it. So there we go. Now it's really there. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you, Hannah, for helping get it in there. So that goes ahead and wraps us up. Thank you all again for your support. We will email you further resources as soon as the video of this presentation is available. And we hopefully will see you at a future Lunch and Learn or another program here at the Gardens.